I think we are live.
Hello, hello.
What is going on, everybody? What's up? We got Crypto Chris in the house. How we doing? I'm just gonna share this real quick
Yeah, sure.
on
I'm
Twitter.
feeling great. I'll go ahead and share it on mine as well.
Yeah, you know what? You share that. How's it going?
It's good, man. I'm feeling good about the market right now. I definitely leveraged myself for a dip this week. So I'm ready to do some sniping this week, and this Saturday is going to be huge.
Yeah, for today they announced the cards for the Mickey Mouse Clubhouse. I think it is right. They got Donald Duck. We got Goofy, Minnie, Mickey. How excited are you about this drop on Saturday?
I'm extremely excited. I think one of my biggest mistakes in the past is two things: not stacking enough. So I'm hoping that these characters will have FA tags, and if they do, they definitely need to be stacked, at least in my opinion. So I'm in a good position to stack those. And also just not having the liquidity for the drops. It's like all my gems were tied up in NFTs. So I had to sell off a few last minute. But I'm definitely ready for this time. Like I'm not going to sleep on this opportunity.
So what's your plan for this? You looking to stack? You looking to get the whole set?
Yeah, I'm probably going to get the whole set and duplicate, and then get, depending on prices, try to get multiple of a few.
I think we got an echo in here. We got an echo?
Yeah. I wonder if... Can you mute your mic when I speak? Like, will that help the echo? Yeah, like right now? Or testing 1, 2.
Okay, I'm gonna mute it, and you go ahead.
I'm not too sure if that's gonna fix it. Oh, I did fix it. Okay, yeah, that fixed it.
All right, so I'll do that.
Sure.
All right, so you're looking to get this. You're looking to stack multiple sets. Is that what you're thinking?
I would like to get 2 of the sets, and I would like to get multiples of each of the FAs depending on prices, especially if the FAs are common or uncommon, and people will kind of sell them off for cheaper like they did with Wonder Woman or a lot of other FAs. I would definitely like to stack those depending on prices.
And what are you thinking about added significance being the first cards released?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a big deal, and I think it also depends, of course, on Veve's execution of it. I think it's pretty vague right now how they're going to look until we get that article probably tomorrow. So I think regardless, it's going to hold significance because it is like the first time that they come in card format. And I mean, as we kind of spoke about before, but there's so many things that could be done with that. So I'm excited to see it, but definitely if Veve like executes well and like makes it into a game, or they look really cool, or they're just so unique, I think that's a pretty big deal.
Yeah, and that's the thing about being in card format. Like you don't know what can come down the line, with it. But I want to talk to you about you're an OG in the community. You've been on YouTube since I think April, and you've been collecting the NFTs since then as well. Is that correct?
Yeah, so I made my first video on Ecomi March 10th. It was one of the first Veve videos online on YouTube, and I started buying Omi in February, and I started buying Veve collectibles early March. My first few purchases were Todd, Stay Puft Man, and my first drop I ever went for was Nightwing, and I actually got Nightwing on the drop.
You still holding that, Todd, or you let it go?
There's a cool story about the Todd. So I kind of am still holding it. So I never sold it. I literally just last month, I was holding it from the time that I bought it in March until now. And last month, somebody reached out to me on Twitter basically saying, hey, I heard that you have this Todd with this mint number, which was 4001. And he said, I have the matching and I'd really love it if I could trade you and give you more for your Todd because I need that mint number. And I didn't want to withhold his NFT matching mint number from somebody who has a physical. So if he offered me a good deal, then I was like, whatever, I still have Todd. So what we ended up doing is he traded me a much lower mint Todd. He traded me like a 1640 for like my 4001, which like 4001 is a pretty cool mint because I mean, there's certain collectors out there that like 2001, 3001, 4001. But he also traded me a 3-digit Dr. Doom, and he traded me a secret rare. I forgot what Avengers comic. It wasn't one of the bigger ones, but it's still a secret rare comic. all for my 4001 Todd so he could have the matching. And I do think if he wants to later to sell the matching 4001 Todd with the physical and NFT, I think he can make bank on it. So I think we both kind of left that deal golden.
And what do you think about, so like, I personally think the Todd is probably top two for me. You know that, and for me, like the secret rare Spider-Man, and Todd. You know the significance of being the first. Where do you hold it in, in your list of top five Grails?
Yeah, that's a great question. I probably will have a little bit of bias because like I do own a Todd and I don't own a Secret Rare Spidey. But like trying to put bias aside, it's hard to rank it exactly. But I used to think, and the reason I didn't stack Todds is because I feel like other people thought this as well. You know, how important is FAVV? You know, and what that means is Todd was the first ever VV collectible minted on VV. And at first I was thinking, you know, it's going to be awesome, but maybe it's just a VV exclusive thing. Maybe mainstream won't adopt it. Well, here we are, fast forward not even a year, and Todd's at a 12 to 13K floor, and everybody's talking about Todd being the first. Like, and now so many people want to get their hands on the Todd. I had somebody offer me $10,000 off the app for my Todd. And so now looking at it, I really do think Todd is one of those top tier collectibles. Taps Trade made a beautiful video on this. NFT Pirates made a really good post on this. But I definitely think that Todd is up there in the top three. As far as where I would put it, I don't really like ordering them, but I mean, it'd probably be like Secret Rare Spidey, maybe Walt statue, and then Todd. But, you know, that's just off the top of my head. Regardless, Todd's probably in my top three. If he's not in my top three, he's 100% in my top five. And I do think I am one of the minority, again, somebody that has a Todd, not a Rizzo, that the possibility of Todd one day flipping Rizzo is there.
Yeah, I also think, and I do own a Todd as well, so I'm obviously biased, right? But I do think that Todd will one day flip Rizzo, because I think that as more and more time goes on, the weight of that narrative of being the first ever gets, stronger and stronger, and like that weight gets heavier. So I think that that's definitely possible. Brendan C. shouted you out for coffee. Chris, tell us about your coffee.
Yeah, man. So I've been roasting coffee for like 3 years. I own a physical shop. That's my day job. I do everything for it. So one of the things I like to do with YouTube, or I want to do this year, is instead of like having, I'm always one of those people like that just like expect free things, you know. So one of the things I like to do is I'd like to start a website. So instead of saying, hey, you should support me by like sending me money so I could do this more often, it's like, hey, if you like coffee, you should check out my website and go buy some of my coffee. That way you can get a good product, and it encourages me to do the two things that I love, which is make videos and roast coffee, if that makes sense.
So how did you get into the coffee business?
College, late nights, lots of studying, not a lot of sleep, just having to make a French press to try to get through the day. And I definitely hyperfixate on things. I'm diagnosed ADHD, and my hyperfixation led me, and just like it has with NFTs and crypto and all that fun stuff, it led me that way with coffee as well. It's kind of like, okay, well, what makes coffee taste the way that it does? How do I make this better? You know, how do I acquire these sort of tastes, you know, and all that. So I just kind of went down the rabbit hole of coffee. And I also don't live far from New Orleans, which has some good coffee. It taught me a lot of good things about coffee, because there are some national coffee meetings in New Orleans that kind of allow you to kind of teach you. But the most stereotypical coffee of New Orleans actually isn't that good of coffee. It's kind of gross, dark roast with some chicory in it.
So you mentioned your ADHD and hyperfixating.
Yeah.
Did you do that with Veve Nft's?
Yeah, 100%. I from like probably March, like the first few times I bought some NFTs off of Veve, I had to know everything about it. So I did already know that OMI was the underlying token to Veve, because I actually got into OMI before I got into Veve. But then when I started buying stuff off of Veve, that's kind of what got me into NFTs, because like, you know, this was March of 2021, and I was kind of like, okay, well, what are NFTs? And okay, they exist on blockchain. Well, what blockchains do they exist on? Okay, you know, and like expanding on blockchains and kind of running down those rabbit holes and finding other NFT projects and, you know, all that stuff. So yeah, I definitely hyperfixated on Veve.
Yeah, I have a tendency to fixate as well. Like I have a very obsessive personality,
Mm-hmm.
and that's actually the reason why I didn't buy Veve Nft's early on. When I first got into this project, I heard about it through Omi, and my focus was Omi because I wanted to build out a position, and I knew that if I started buying Veve Nft's, I would go down a rabbit hole and charge up a bunch of money on my credit card. And so I resisted and I held off and I just focused on Omi. And then looking back, I was like, damn, I should have went down that rabbit hole earlier.
I feel that, man. I really do.
So that was my biggest mistake with this whole project. What was your biggest mistake?
Easily not stacking. So like I've never really made a mistake that I just like has like really kept me up at night. Like I've made mistakes. I sold two Elsas at 1200 not long before the pump. And you know, it sucked. You know, they pumped up to 3.6. I did put my gems in other things. I'm okay with that. So I've definitely made mistakes, but not buying 100 Marvel 1 comics commons when they first dropped, or not buying 10 Todds when I could. Now, granted, again, I come from a coffee business. I have one kid and one on the way. I didn't come into this with a lot of money. I have everything I have right now in Veve and really crypto in general because I learned how to be a good trader. And I mean, obviously, like, I don't like to say that because, like, at the end of the day, you don't have to be a good trader. If you invested in Veve at certain times, then you're considerably up. But I learned that to be okay with taking profits and then using those profits to make more profits. So as much as I could say, oh, I should have just bought 100 Todds, I couldn't. I mean, I literally couldn't take out $5,000 or whatever to like go buy 100 Todds right when Veve started. But I definitely could have scavenged some money to start buying those Marvel 1 commons, or to start stacking Wonder Womans when they're 100 gems a piece, or you know, all that. So like I see people like Silicone Secure on Twitter bought like 150 Spider-Mans, you know, at like around 100 a piece. And although I couldn't have did that, I could have done it on a smaller scale, and I just didn't. I stacked a few. My version of stacking was like buying 2 or 3. You know, I really should have went hard on those first appearances. So my biggest mistake is not stacking FAs back in the days to where you definitely could have.
I remember, and again, because I wasn't in the mindset of buying the NFTs, but I remember looking at that first Marvel comic at $2, and you know, I didn't buy 100 of them. That's crazy to me. Like, I remember flirting with the idea of buying like the Spider-Man comic. It was like $40, and I was in the auction, I think, and someone like bid like 42, and I didn't outbid him. So like looking back now, that's crazy to me. But you know, how hindsight's 2020, obviously. How did this grow faster than you thought it would? Like, what were your expectations back in, you know, April and May? Where did you think we would be now?
Yeah, so it definitely exceeded my expectations as far as the collectible side of things goes, and it didn't meet my expectations as far as Omi goes. Um, I was never one of the people that necessarily thought that Omi would be 10 cents by the end of the year, but I did think that it would at least break the previous all-time high of 1 cent. But to be fair and to defend my point and other people's point who were bullish on Omi, is that we didn't expect the transfer to take so long. We expected to be on more exchanges by now to stretch that liquidity. Like there's things that got pushed back that wasn't in our control. So I would say Omi underperformed. And I think 2022 will be a good start, you know, for Omi. And the collectibles definitely overperformed compared to my expectations. I definitely thought, you know, there's a reason I held my Todd, and there's a reason I held my Jim Lee Jokers and my so much that I held, because I thought it was going to go up. But to say that my Todd was going to be worth a 12 or 13K floor by January of 2022, man, that definitely exceeds. I didn't have an exact price point, but I'd be lying to you if I thought Todd would already be worth 13K. And I think most people, if they're honest with themselves, it shocked them too, but it's a good shock. I mean, I would much rather be wrong and be holding, you know, be having a bigger stack, you know, than the ladder of it, you know.
So then, what's your expectation, you know, from now? Like, where do you think that these just keep running up, and you know, a 50K Todd is inevitable short term? or are you expecting a correction? What are you thinking for the foreseeable future?
Yeah, that's a great question. I do think Todd will hit a 50K floor by end of the year. I really do. I feel that pretty confidently. As far as collectibles across the market, it's so hard for me to believe that anybody firmly knows. We're working with such a new field that's so finite, and we're placing bets, similar to the .com era. So we're placing bets that we're right, and if we're right, we're in considerable profits. But I think it's naive to think that there's never going to be corrections. Now, I don't know if these corrections will ever see 80% corrections or anything like that, but it's such a new field. It's hard to be so confident. But with that being said, it also depends on things like execution of the Veve Master Collector program. With the new drop raffle system, it really incentivizes you to hold your collectibles. If you hold your collectibles and your comics, you get more points. These points then allow you to get drop raffle tickets. These drop raffle tickets now allow you to have a greater percentage to hit drops and hit grails on drops, and to turn 100 gems into 2,000 gems, or $100 into $2,000. So will those incentives be strong enough for collectibles across the board? Maybe, and I think comics still have a long way to go. They're nowhere close to their physical counterparts. I own a Fantastic Four #5 secret rare. The floor is like 8K right now in the app. In real life, it's even the worst grades, 4.5 grades, are selling for 10 grand. So I think we're comparing it to physicals, which they all can't be compared to physicals. Like, they're way undervalued compared to the physical realm. So I know that's not a clear-cut answer. I just don't like to say firmly confident that, like, oh yeah, everything's going to go up and to the right. But at the same time, like, I do kind of believe it will, and that's why I'm holding a considerable amount of my portfolio.
Yeah, and I feel the exact same way. I feel like when I look at it, there's so many catalysts still coming. Like you said, the Master Collectors Program, the VVverse, utility, the ability to rent out your collectibles. And there are so many people flooding into the ecosystem on a daily basis that I can't not see these continuing to go up. But at the same time, you know, I'm hesitant to firmly, what I'm saying? I don't want to fall in love with that idea also. I want, the conservative part of me questions, if that's going to happen. But what
Yeah,
are you thinking
can I
about?
add one more thing for a
Yeah,
sec?
again.
So another thing I like to think of is, like, I'm in a good position and you're probably in a good position because we're here early. So like for me, it's like, do I hold on to, like, say, Golden Moments or Todd or whatever? Absolutely. Like, I think that it's going to go up. Now, for me to tell one of my friends that they should go buy a Todd for 12K because I think it's going to be worth 50K, you see what I'm saying there? Like, I don't have as much to lose, and I'm confident in the future of it. But would I reckon, like my friend or family, I wouldn't want to put them in that position of risk. But to me, the risk is low, and I do think that it's going to go there. So I hope that further explains kind of like my thought process on it.
Yeah, 100%. What do your friends and family say to you? Because I show them my vault, the value, and how it's increased like 500% over the last month or so with that big pump, and they say that I'm crazy for not selling. But I try to tell them and try to educate them, but they don't get it. Do you get the same thing from people?
Yeah, I actually put out a tweet this week that was pretty funny. I showed my dad that I flipped some things and some of my portfolio, and he's like, "You need to sell all those NFTs and buy Bitcoin while it's dropping." And one, I thought, I mean, it's still my dad recommending crypto, so I thought it was kind of cool. But it's kind of funny because it's like he wants to recommend me like a majorly underperforming asset compared to NFTs. But yeah, as far as friends and family goes, there's just such, I don't talk about it a ton. I guess I'm just kind of a reserved person, ironically, because I'm a content creator. But like overall, I just don't talk about it a whole lot. And when I do talk about it, it's very mildly, and it's just kind of brushed off. Like, I don't think they realize how life changing this can be, because there is still that, if I further explain it, oh, that's gems, that's not real money, that's not cash, or whatever. And it's just silly stuff like that. So I just kind of avoid the conversations. And also, it's just a lot to explain. I think that's another reason why I don't talk about it a ton outside of my immediate family. Because, like, if somebody is interested, as much as I love talking about it, it's like, okay, now we got to break down what is an NFT, what gives an NFT value, why do I think this is going up? Like there's so many layers to get through that it's a little exhausting.
Yeah, I pretty much stopped talking about it, except for once in a while, like I'll flex on my brothers and stuff like that, and show them, the vault and stuff. But I stopped trying to convince, people who just don't want to be convinced. What about like your other investments? You mentioned crypto. Are you holding?
Yeah, well, altogether, I probably have like 20 to 30 different crypto. But my main bags are probably Omi, Hex. Um, I actually hold a decent amount of KuCoin just because it's like really good passive income. I hold my ADA or Cardano because I use it to delegate to make other money. Like right now, I'm making Sunday Swap token, which is going to be a DEX on Cardano's network. And I sacrificed a considerable amount of Ethereum at the end of the last day of last year to buy Pulse X. I don't know if I mentioned Hex, but Hex is my biggest bag next to Omi. Yeah, so Hex and Omi, and then Pulse X, which is going to be a DEX, which is a decentralized exchange that's going to be traded on the Pulse Chain network. I'm going to invest in Pulse Chain. I missed the sacrifice phase, but I have some money reserved for that as well. So
Nice.
there's some of them.
Have you been buying the dip? This tumultuous dip.
Actually, no. Going back to what I said earlier, I'm not really. I'm having a baby next month. Our insurance where I live sucks, so we're paying for everything in the hospital out of pocket. So I'm just not in a really good chance right now to put a lot of money into the market. But I'm pretty comfortable with what I have put into the market over 2021, and I feel like my investments in 2021 are going to be are going to change my life. I'm pretty confident in that.
We got a question from Eros. How are you guys going to migrate your OMI? What's the best way to do it? You just made a video on this as well, correct?
Yeah, I have an entire playlist dedicated to this, but I also just made I just made a video particularly on where to send your OMI, like what to consider, how to divide your ratio. Do I want 80% on layer one and 20% on layer two? I just made a video breaking all that down.
What are you planning on doing? You're going to split it up?
I'm putting a lot on layer two, but that's coming from somebody who has like I guess a fairly average amount of OMI. Like if I was somebody like Randy Chavez or Reese or somebody like that or Foster, I would probably only put like 20% of my OMI onto the exchange. I mean onto the app, and then put the rest in a cold storage wallet. But I'm trying to really take advantage of those staking tiers because I'm really involved with the VV side of things as well. And going back to what I said earlier with the MCP, the OUP also gives you advantages on the VV app. And I'm one of those people that I would just like to take advantage of anything that I can and leverage anything I can to give me the best chances. So if that means sending a considerable amount of my OMI over to the app, I mean, I'm not going to sell it anytime soon. So why not put it to work for me? The only concern that I have is security concerns, but that's for a different conversation.
Yeah, my plan is pretty much the same. I'm going to put a portion in layer two, in the VV wallet to stake to get those perks, and then I'm going to ship some off to the exchange and do that conversion. What are you thinking in terms of like like I did in my video on? There are a lot of people who have like super bullish expectations for OMI. They think we're going to get 20 cents this year. I'm a little more conservative. I think that my prediction was 3 cents for this year. What's your 2022 prediction for the OMI token?
Yeah, that's another great question. I know it's typical, and I don't want to sound like a politician, but like there are so many factors that we just don't know. How many? Okay, what are the new staking tiers going to be, and how long are the lockup periods? If they're going to be $50,000 worth of OMI, and the lockup period is going to be near to a year, and you staking that takes it out of circulation, we're going to see millions and millions of OMI taken out of circulation. And circulating supply, as you know, determines the price. All right. How many people are going to execute skipping the tiers? Because you can pay a certain amount of fee in OMI, which is like 5,000 right now to get to the tier three, $5,000 worth of OMI in order to skip it, get all the benefits immediately, and then go on with that. And then that burns it out of circulation. What about land purchases? How important is land going to be in the Vverse? If we were using the OMI to purchase land and then that OMI is then burned, then that's also taking a considerable amount of OMI out of circulation. How many whales like Randy Chavez or Dr. Profit or anybody who has a considerable amount of OMI want to ape into collectibles once OMI goes up a little bit. And once they do that, when they buy these collectibles with OMI off the market and they scoop these floors, which increases the price of these collectibles because they're going to be setting new floors. I mean, some of these whales can wipe out the circulating supply of a collectible in one swipe once OMI goes up a little bit. Well, is all that OMI burnt out of circulation? I'm pretty sure it is. I don't remember exactly, or it's just a certain percentage. But all these factors come into play, and it depends on how well they're going to be executed for me to determine the price of OMI by the end of the year. That being said, I lean conservatively, and then I get excited if it breaks my expectations. So I think what you said, 3 cents, is pretty fair by end of the year. But again, if they're really executing these things and they're hammering, the staking and it's a lot's being taken out of circulating supply, I could see a lot higher.
No, 100%. There's a lot to be determined. We need to see how much OMI is burnt. But now you mentioned the staking and taking them out of circulating supply, but that just means that they're locked up, correct? That doesn't mean that they're actually coming out of, like, when you look on the supply of a coin on coin market cap or whatever, the number stays the same. There will still be 320 or 300 billion, correct?
So the numbers on those type of websites are actually wrong, because like right now, if you go and look up Ecomi, it says that there's 750 billion tokens, but there's not. There's already a considerable amount of tokens that have been burnt, and then there's already, what was it, 300 million, 300 billion? No, not 300
Billion in the reserve and in the.
Yeah, but no. There was an accidental lockup forever, basically, like way past our lifetimes. So that number doesn't reflect. I guess all that to say, I don't have any like hardcore proof that the staking will take it out of circulation, but it does for other crypto. Now this is quite different because it is kind of still being utilized in the app, and this staking looks a little different. But anything else that you stake, again, like Hex, I'm staking Hex. That Hex that I'm staking is taken out of circulation because it can't be bought.
Yeah, see, but that's what I'm thinking. I'm conflicted on that also, because like that works that way for Hex, but 70% of Cardano is staked, but that's still reflected in the circulating supply, I believe. And then also,
Cardano is usually delegated, though not as much staked. So, like, are you sure that 70% is not delegated instead of staked? Because Cardano's system is pretty different as well.
it could be a combination of the two. But the other thing is, how do you keep track of the number stake? Well, people can lock it up for like 2 months at a time or however, and it's moving in and out, and that's constantly changing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's where I think the bigger staking tiers will come more in handy, because again, if it sounds like they're alluding to a 50K staking tier, and the longest lockup period we have right now is 90 days, which is fairly short. But the largest staking tier that we have right now is 10K. So if 50K is 5 times the size of that, I'm wondering if like the time will be 5 times the time of 90 days. Are we looking at somebody staking it for a year? I don't, the OUP really matters for this, because like what incentives are they going to give to people to lock up $50,000 worth of OMI for a year? I would think that the incentives have to be pretty strong, but yeah, I mean, I guess we're not going to know like 100% until the team does. But like you said, it's going to be weird, because if it does take it out of supply, it's going to constantly be going like in and out of supply. But again, I think that's why like these bigger tiers matter, because the staking periods will be longer. I do want to say though, like with Cardano, and I could be wrong, but a lot of times when you're delegating, you're just giving that pool your public keys to where they can use your wallet basically to say that you're in their pool. So it is a little bit different than like locking up your crypto where you can't access it, because I can actually still like use my Cardano while it's delegated to a pool, but I can't even see my Hex in my wallet. And same thing with other cryptos that I've staked before, like Gil or Tron or anything like that.
So for your Cardano though, you're able to sell it. No, it's what are
Yeah,
you able to? You can, even when it's delegated.
I haven't sold my Cardano, so I can't like I guess I can't say from experience, but to my knowledge, yeah, I can sell my Cardano. After that, I mean, it won't count for delegation anymore, because like I sold it. But I mean, that's all I have to do is basically just undelegate to the pool because it's not locked up, and then just sell my Cardano.
Do you worry though with like the bigger staking tiers and that the whales will have just bigger advantages within Vivi to get those big drops?
Yeah, that's a great question. Yes, but at the same time, it's like it's weird because like I think Vivi so far has done a good job at not favoring, for lack of better words, the elite, and kind of allowing a kind of like a bottom up like system. So if it does benefit them a lot, I'm still kind of okay with that if it's still increasing the benefits of the average user, which would be if it takes that OMI out of circulation. And I mean, if it allows them, like, let's take OMI to NFT, for instance, like, sure, they have the advantage because like they have a ton of OMI, so they're able just to eat up all these collectibles. But at the end of the day, it's still kind of changing the average person's life. Like if I land a drop and then this whale buys my drop I just hit for 5 million OMI, like that's still kind of a win-win for both parties. So I like to say a lot of times in the market, like I like to ride the whale waves because it's one of those things. Like it sucks that it works that way, but that's how the world works. We kind of have an oligarchy or pretty much worldwide. But the best we can do, at least me speaking for like an average person, is try to ride those waves and almost like try to think like a whale and go from there.
We got a question here from Hayden. When the remaining founders tokens add to the circulating supply in a couple months, does that cut the price of the token in half since it's nearly doubling the supply? So no, it doesn't cut the price in half, but it does change the market cap, which a lot of people use to value the coin. What about long-term price predictions for OMI? Are you a believer in the $10 OMI, Chris?
Not really. But if we're speaking hypotheticals, like not even hypotheticals, like again, there's too many factors. Is Disney going to be using OMI for their metaverse? Like, is there any chance for that? If there's a chance for that, or not even Disney, but like other major IPs saying, you know what, like we decided that we want to do NFTs and that we want to gamify it, but we don't really feel like creating our own crypto. So what are we going to do? We're going to go with the company that we already have licenses with, the team that we're already established. We'll call up our boy David Yu and use their crypto they've already established. And then you start seeing OMI be used as third party, and then that OMI being burnt. Anything, literally anything could happen. Do I think based on everything that we have right now that OMI will hit $10? Um, Again, like maybe eventually. I think it's fair to say like the next I don't like putting a time frame on this. I used to not be a believer in $1 OMI. I'll say that. But with all these new burning mechanisms, and if you're really, I'm talking like a long term hold. I'm not talking like next year OMI is gonna be $1. But like if you're really here for the long call, like in the next 10 years, I think OMI, I do think OMI can hit $1. But again, it depends on the information released and a lot of other factors. And it is exciting to me because based on the things I just said, like really the sky is the limit based on the partnerships that we have. But right now, with as much whales that own the token, it is manipulated. It is only on 4 exchanges. I do think, the start of getting our foot off the ground is being able to be listed on more exchanges, which are probably coming in February, and getting that, liquidity spread out to more holders and them implementing their burning mechanisms that they talked about.
No, yeah, I totally agree. I think with working with the information that we have now, $10 OMI is not possible in my opinion. But like you said, so many things can happen down the line that just change everything. All right. In regards to Disney, I kind of think that they're gonna go their own way with their metaverse. Just my thought process. And do you think that it's possible that then we lose, that whole Disney brand, and what effect would that have on the project?
Yeah, I think it's possible, but I think at the end of the day, we still have the first license. All right, we still have the first Disney NFTs. So, like, even if we lost the Disney license, in a sense, it wouldn't matter if you're on the app today because it's going to almost be more valuable to the FAs that you can get right now because at the end of the day, collectors, institutions, this really all lifts off and people really care about NFTs and these things do have utility, they are implemented into the Vverse and all that stuff, people are going to be seeking out the first time they ever appeared on the blockchain. And Vivi has that privilege to say that we have the first ever Disney licensed NFTs. So even if they have their own metaverse, that's okay. We have the first Mickey. My daughter just got here. We had the first Mickey. We had the first Elsa. We had the first R2, Star Wars, like all that. Also, I don't know. I think we still have like 2 years left on the license. Like it's a considerable amount of time. So a lot can happen in 2 years.
Yeah, 100%. I think we do have like I think a 3 year deal with them. Um, what brand are you looking forward to the most besides the obvious Pokemon?
Yeah, so Pokemon is the obvious. But besides that, it would probably be more so from like a personal like excitement. It wouldn't really be for like an investment opportunity, I guess. Like I think Dragon Ball Z would be really cool. I watched a lot of Dragon Ball Z growing up, and I know I think there's been some like kind of alluding to it, Dragon Ball Z. So I think that's in the realm of possibilities. Um, it's a great question. It's so hard. Any anime would be cool, like that I've watched. I mean, like even like popular anime like Naruto would be awesome. I know there was an NFT project recently called Baruto, or not Baruto. I forgot what they're called, Beijing or something. They claim to have the first licensed Naruto NFTs, but it was a scam. Um, yeah, like any anime would be really cool. Yeah, I don't know any shows that I watched. That would all be cool. And a question I don't think about enough.
Yeah, I just look. I like the stuff that I grew up with. That I'm nostalgic for. I think that's one of the brilliant things that David Yu, he understands nostalgia and that effect. Like just thinking about things like stamps, and because he's been in this business for so long, he understands like the whole psychology of it. So I think that just like pulls people in, and then they get hooked. Because once you start, I feel like you get hooked. Justin says, reset the VVverse will burn through circulating supply. Yes, he did say that. I'm really looking forward to the VVverse. Are you planning on buying land? Like, what's your game plan with the VVverse? And do you want to be my neighbor in the VVverse?
Yeah, I'm planning on buying land. It depends on how expensive it is, and I would rather buy it with fiat than OMI. Just because again, I don't have enough OMI to where I'm just like, sure, I'll buy land with OMI. I would rather buy it with fiat. Um, yeah, it's just so far, not away, but like it's just so much speculation right now. It's hard for me to say. Um, this is something that's I'm trying to think a way to say it. I am excited about the Viverse. I just don't know how it's going to look. And I know it's going to be, they said it's going to be more social than gamified. But once it becomes gamified, if it becomes more gamified, I'm particularly excited because I'm a gamer. So, like, what does every kid gamer want to do when they grow up? They want to play video games and make money. And we can already do that with some NFT projects. But if there's a way to do that with Vivi, that'd be phenomenal. If we're able to play a game over like the Immutable X layer 2 or inside the VVverse or whatever, and develop some sort of passive income. If again speculation, but like if people want to, you mentioned it in your last video. The Marvel Mighties kind of look like they'd be gamified. If somebody wants to rent out your FA Marvel Mighty Steve Rogers because they don't want to pay $1,000 for one down the road, so they pay you $1 to rent out your Steve Rogers, or whatever, even a couple bucks or whatever. Like that's passive income. And even though it's not a lot, it's still like they need it for that game. And you can create a Steve Rogers farm where you have 100 of them and you rent out to 100 different people every single day, and stuff like that. So lots of speculation, but I mean, yeah.
Yeah, I'm super excited to see what it looks like. I think that there's a good chance people are going to be disappointed at first because, as time goes on, the expectation just builds, and they've been very clear to say that the first iteration of it will just basically be an extension of your showroom. It's going to be like, a flexed out showroom. And it's going to take time. I do think it's going to take time to flesh it out, but I'm super excited about that. You're going to be doing some role plays inside there for your YouTube channel or what?
I don't know. I haven't really thought that far in advance, but I do think it'd be really cool to interact on a AR or a virtual scale with subscribers or with like just friends that I've met over the VV community. They already have that, the VR chats, and I think some of the community really does the VR chats a lot. But yeah, I haven't really thought about those things, but they will be really cool. Go into I don't know. It's just gonna be cool, especially the possibility of existing as these collectibles. You know, like me existing as a Todd in this foreseen metaverse is just a really interesting and unique idea.
DW asks, what price of OMI is your first for take profits? Do you have a game plan there?
I really don't, which is funny to say because I know like you would think I should have one by now. But again, it just really matters on all those factors that I said. Like if I would hate to sell Omi at 10 cents. I'm not going to sell Omi at 10 cents. I'll say that right now. But I'd hate to sell it at 10 cents. And then later Disney announced that they're going to be using Omi as their cryptocurrency for their metaverse, you know? It really depends on my life situation. I'm actually going to go far past this now, but one of my first thoughts when getting into Omi is I want this crypto to pay off every debt I have in life and create a little bit of generational wealth. So I want it to pay my house note, my car note. I want to help my parents out if they need anything. I want to help my wife and my daughters out, and I want us to be okay. I don't want to stress about finances for the rest of my life. So have I calculated what price point I need for that? To an extent, but it's not exactly like cut like because again, if Disney announces that or if we get some big burning news, then it's probably going to be moved back. You know, like maybe I will be leaning towards the Cavell $10 OMI token if we get some like incredible news. And if that news makes me bullish enough, why would I sell at $1 or $2, whatever?
Yeah, I'm kind of in the exact same place. I don't have an exit strategy yet. This is a long-term hold for me, you know. So I'm content to be patient and wait. And as you know, like you said, as it rises in price and as things develop, I'm gonna develop my plan. We got non-fungible wonderful in the house. What's up? I need 16 bars on a non-fungible wonderful song, man.
He's got such good music.
What about the NFTs? Do you have an exit strategy there? As you know, your vault. You know, it's hard because as you know things multiply and go up, you know, exponentially. It's hard not to think of taking some profits and like you said, paying things off and doing things for your family.
Yeah, man. I definitely do. Like again, those things that I just named, if I can sell off a single NFT to like do some of those things, then I probably will. Like, let's take that. It would be hard for me. I apologize. I've been sick for like a month. It'd be hard for me to sell a Todd because again, I've never sold Todd. Been holding this whole time, other than my trade off. And I'm gonna have the physical Todd coming in the mail soon. So I really like that. I'm gonna have the physical and the digital Todd. Todd, I think, is going to be what do they use it? Social capital kind of thing. Like, oh, you own a Todd, I own a Todd. Like Todd would be really hard for me to let go of. But let's take like my Fantastic Four number 5 comic, which I think I do have listed right now, but that's for other reasons. But like if I can easily sell it for like 100K next year, it would be really hard for me not to do that and basically pay off the rest of our student loans and a lot on our house. Like that'd be really difficult. I saw a there's that controversy. I don't know if you saw it. It's really silly, but like basically people saying, "Oh, that's not life-changing money. Like 50K is not life-changing money." Like it is. Not stressing about monthly bills at the end of the month when you have a family or even when you're single, whatever, like that increases your mental health. That's less life stress to worry about, more time you can spend with your loved ones, not trying to have to pick up shifts to like make more money. Like if I can get there, have my mental health in check and still have all my OMI and still have all my other collectibles, I'll sell some off.
Yeah, I agree 100%. It's everyone's got their own life situation and their own reason to sell. I hate, I like there's a lot of like a lot of meme talk now. In crypto and in stocks about like diamond hands and paper hands and things like this. But you never go broke taking profits. You know what I mean? And at the end of the day, that's what your investment is for. Is to put yourself in a better position, in the future. And my roof is leaking right now. If I needed money to fix that, I would sell something. You know what I mean? And there's nothing wrong with that. So to say that something is not life changing, I completely agree with that. We got a question here. What crypto app do you guys use? I use Anchor, but I don't think they're reliable anymore. Where do you buy your stuff, Chris?
I really use Dex's. Like I really just I swap. I don't buy a lot of crypto anymore. Like I use KuCoin to buy my KuCoin, obviously. I use convenient apps just because they're convenient. Like I don't use anything fancy. Oh, one of my big holdings is VGX too, because that's the Voyager's token. Because you get a pretty good dividend yield from it just from having it in the app, and then you get bonuses from having a certain amount. I use Coinbase, of course. It's got kind of bad fees, but I'm not as active crypto trading as I was earlier of 2021. Um, all that to say, I wouldn't necessarily, if you're looking to like day trade or swing trade crypto, I wouldn't really recommend any of those. But if you're just kind of like periodically buying and building your portfolio, like I don't think there's anything wrong with like Coinbase or Voyager or anything like that. But a lot of it, I use like I'll buy ETH, send it over to MetaMask, and then convert that either using Uniswap or just my MetaMask swap option into Hex or into whatever I want to swap it into.
Yeah, I generally use Coinbase because it's convenient for anything that's listed on there. Something like Omi, I use Bit4X. And then I use Changely sometimes. I'm in New York, so we don't have access to a lot of things. There's a lot of regulation over here, and it sucks. We got a question here. After the migration and exchange expansion, what is your price prediction for summer? Do you have that short-term price prediction in mind?
Not really. But I mean, it depends on what exchanges we're getting listed on. Like, I do think we're going to get it listed on an exchange in February. And if not February, then definitely by summer. But like, is it going to be Coinbase? Is it going to be Binance? Or is it going to be another kind of random exchange that a lot of people don't use? Like, I think that really matters. I think super conservatively, I hesitate saying on live and that where it can be recorded because like people are going to come back, clip it, and be like, "Look, you said this and it didn't happen." But like, that's why I like to be extra conservative. But like, it would blow my mind if we get listed on some decent exchanges and we don't break previous all time highs. At the very least, which would be like a little bit over a cent. It'd be like what 0.017 or 0.015 or something like that. So like, I mean, I think like aggressively summer, maybe like 2 cents. But again, we just got to see. It's
It's
so
so
hard to
hard to say.
say. And I know you know this being a trader. It, it's it's hard to say specifically with Omi because again, a lot of people own a lot of the supply. So they can hold the price down if they wanted to, or they can let it go up if they wanted to right now. That changes once we get more holders on more exchanges and more people are buying Omi. And then that also changes in the long term based on like burning mechanics. So, like, if these whales decide that they want to allow the price to go up, they can. And if they want to continue to suppress it or sell and then cause the price to drop so that they can buy more, just like they do in any other market, they can also do that.
Yeah, 100%. I think also a lot depends on like, the macroeconomics and what's going on, in the world. I think that Omi's held up pretty good during all this volatility of the last couple weeks. It's held up pretty strong, and I think that's because of the catalyst, because of the migration that's coming this week, and then the exchanges are coming, and everything we've been waiting for. But I do think that if the market's rough for the first quarter and second quarter, that it'll suppress the upside of Omi for sure. Let's talk about undervalued Veve Nft's. What are some things that you think are sleeper picks for people?
Yeah, that's fun. So I could have answered this better like 2 months ago before like everything pumped. So it's a little hard now. Um, I still don't understand why this was on your list of 20 undervalued NFTs. This isn't my top pick. This is the first one that comes to my head. I don't understand why the common snow globes with that polar bear never got real love. Like, I understand that technically it's an FE, not an FA, because the Coca-Cola made one NFT that was bought by one person or one institution for six figures. But besides that, this is the first like collected Coca-Cola NFT. And people will like brush it off like, oh, that's an old person's thing. Like nobody collects Coke. That's not true. Like, I don't know about where you live, but like I see a ton. Well, first off, I see Coca-Cola everywhere, but I see a ton of collectors still in Coca-Cola around. So to me, Coca-Cola is where like one of those things that you do have IP and scarcity because like the secret rare only has like what 1,800 mints of it. Now I'm not saying there's a ton of upside on the secret rare. I do own that one. But like the common snow globe, went back down to like the 190s today. And just to me, there's no reason that it should be at that price, no matter like I think the mint size is like 13K editions. So that would be off the top of my head, like one of the things like I just don't understand why it never got love. And you mentioned this in your video, but like, yeah, I guess some people don't like the Christmas thing, but for Coca-Cola, like it makes sense. It's a polar bear. They advertise around Christmas. They've advertised like stuff like that. Just like for Deadpool, like which would be another one, which was also on your list. I think it was your number one actually. Is I think Deadpool is a big sleeper. I mean, it stayed at 80 gems for the longest time, and this is FA Deadpool that has a like you said a cult like following. Like Deadpool is amazing. And just because he's wearing a Christmas hat or Christmas sweater, his price suppression at 80 gems just sounded insane.
Yeah, I think that I have a theory about the Coca-Cola. I think it's because it's an object. If you notice, like the vehicles don't do like the DeLorean, the Star Trek ships, they don't perform as well as the character-based things. You know what I mean? So I think that's part of the reason why. And I definitely think that some of like the Deadpools are slept on because of the Christmas theme. Like the rare is pretty much I think the same price, maybe even less than the common. But I think that those are going to be removable. Like, when you see like, the clips of people putting them behind the Coca-Cola globe or whatever, and they come off, and I believe they're going to be removable in the future, and you'll be able to customize, Deadpool's gear. So for sure. And Justin says Coca-Cola's down because they told their employees to be less white. I missed
Yeah.
that.
I mean, Coca-Cola does have some bad ethics, and I think overall, like, I wouldn't agree with the company itself. I've actually done business with them because, again, I have a coffee shop and I've done business with Coca-Cola, and they were like they were like one of the worst businesses I've ever worked with. They like basically like gave me a fridge and it was like, hey, you can use this as long as you like put our products in it, which was fine. But then during COVID, they stopped coming as much. So I did have to like go and buy Coca-Cola products and put it in the fridge because like they wouldn't deliver on time. And then they threatened to take my fridge away. And one day they just showed up and took the fridge back. And the lady like harassed me about it, their manager, like about the fridge. It was a really like weird deal. So like it's funny me saying that about Coca-Cola because I can care less for the company and institution, but it's one of those things like I'm sure you invest in things that you probably don't necessarily agree with. I mean that's ethical investing, which is a whole nother topic. But yeah, Coca-Cola would be purely from an investment standpoint. It wouldn't be because I support it.
In terms of like, all right, so we know like Todd's a Grail, partners. What are some that what's like the next tier of Grail pieces? Like, do you consider like Wonder Woman FA to be a Grail piece or a future Grail?
Yeah, I guess. I mean, I like how I think it was Big Collectibles. He's another content creator. He put a list of mini grails out. And I like that because like, we're not putting these in like the top tier categories, but we're putting these at like above the average collectible. And I guess I would put Wonder Woman as like a mini grail for sure. And there's a couple of those on the app for sure. Yeah, that's a good question.
Yeah, I for sure would put Wonder Woman. I look at her as, obviously top five superhero, um, the most popular female superhero in the world. Her mint like number is very comparable to Superman, and like Superman, there was also only one released. Like there were like five different Spider-Man releases at once. So that's like the only definitive FA, and that's why I think that one's going to do really well over time. And I don't know if it won't be the same as Superman, but I could see it being like 80% of Superman.
So this is way off basis, but my guess from the beginning, which I was wrong, was that Wonder Woman would be close to half of Superman's value. And just based on her collectability and her admirability, her being a female, I was thinking, half of Superman would be fair, but obviously that's way off right now because Superman is like 6K, somewhere in that range, and she's 1K. So she's actually like 1/6 or 1/5 of the popularity of Superman. But yeah, I mean, that's good. Also, Super Dank Hank, what up? I'm friends with Super Dank Hank on Twitter. Thanks for stopping by.
Sure. But also, you have to keep in mind, I believe that Wonder Woman's been out for a lot less time than Superman, so it takes time for them to level up a bit, you know?
Yeah, that and I think during Superman's release, he was stacked more because there was less users on the app. So the users that did know what they were doing bought a lot of Supermans. I don't believe this, but somebody came by my stream the other day and told me he bought 1,000 Superman after they on secondary market. I don't really believe that, but the point stands. I do think people bought well over 100, some people, and because there's less users on the app, and people were selling Supermans 3x retail. Sorry, I thought somebody called me. Whereas Wonder Woman, there's a lot more users on the app. So a lot more retail investors or just regular people got on the app, hit her on the drop, or bought our secondary market. So now it kind of has more wiggle room for weaker floors because there's more holders and they just kind of there's more people with a chance to list. Whereas Superman, I'd be interested to see the amount of holders. I mean, how many Superman editions are there? 8,888.
Yeah, 8. Yeah, all 8.
There might be 4,000 holders, or there might be 3,000 holders, 2,000. Whereas Wonder Woman might have well more. So same thing with Todd. Would he be even more so? Todd was a lot more stacked. Todd might have even less holders.
Which is a reason why it will take longer for it to, pump, because people will use it as liquidity when they need gems. Correct. And what else do you consider? What else would you put in? I know you don't like to list things, but I'm a big list guy. I like listing things. What else? What else would you put in your top 10? The true Grails. Would you put Steamboat Willie there? A lot of people think that because it's not FA, that only FA should be in the top 10. Someone tweeted that out or commented on one of my videos. Would you put Steamboat Willie Ultra Rare in there?
Yeah, I would. I would definitely put Steamboat Willie Ultra Rare in there, especially when that copyright thing comes into fruition in the next 2 years. But just overall, yeah, Steamboat Willie is very iconic. I think people might be reading into David Yu saying that it's a key piece a little bit too much. But overall, I mean, David Yu obviously liked it. So, sorry, I got started. So yeah, overall, I think Steamboat Willie Ultra Rare would definitely be there. I think Superman top. What did you say? Top 10?
I put him in my top 5. Yeah,
Superman definitely there. I probably should have my Apple on me right now. We already said Todd McFarlane. Walt, obviously. Secret Spidey, obviously. I feel like I'm forgetting a major icon.
R2D2, you put him in there?
Yeah, R2 would definitely go in my top 10. Being that FA Star Wars. Yeah, definitely. Maybe Mickey's hat. I don't know. That probably wouldn't be my top 10, but that's definitely teeter-tottering. R2 definitely. And I'm not just saying that based on price. It's FA Star Wars, and it's the more rare one out of him and the C-3PO. I regret not stacking R2s. Yeah, I'm sure there's more. Just off the top of my head, those would all definitely be top 10s. I'm definitely forgetting some. There's some huge icons that I'm just can't think of right now.
What about would you put the Harley Quinn black, white, and red, that secret rare? I think there are 500 of them.
No, I wouldn't put that in my top 10.
How much do you like the Harley Quinn FA? Do you think that's underpriced? I think it's $890 right now.
Yeah, I sold mine at $980.
Do you regret it?
No. I sold a bunch of stuff during the pump last week, and yeah.
So what's your plan moving forward? When do you decide to sell? For me, I have a hard time selling things. How do you distinguish, because they're collectibles but they're also investments, right? So how do you not fall in love with them and then pull the trigger on selling? What's your game plan there?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I think there has to be this level of not having emotional attachment if you're purely looking at it from a flipping or investing standpoint, and cutting that. So there are things that I am emotionally invested in that I don't sell and I don't touch. Those are set aside. And then there's things that I am getting into this with the purpose of getting out of it, and I am just okay with taking profits. And one of the things that I like to do, and this doesn't always work, I have made bad decisions. I think my good decisions overweigh my bad decisions, but I have made bad decisions. But one of the things I like to do is, we talked about this earlier, but I've been in the stock market, I've been in the crypto market, and a lot of just insane pumps are not sustainable. Now, it's hard to compare that to VV because this is such a new field and this is such a new space. And by not sustainable, I don't mean long term. I don't mean, oh, all these collectibles are going to crash, they're way overvalued. I mean, there has to be a certain point to where there is retracement. And I mean, that's average. So we just saw such parabolic rise last week. What I did basically on some of the items is I was okay with taking profits, and I was like, this is just so parabolic that I can't see it going much higher. And what I do sometimes is I take resources, so like cherry charts or Ecomi Wiki, and I look at the things that aren't going parabolic, but like there's no reason for them not to be going parabolic. And then I look at the things that are going really high, and I analyze, why are they going really high? Is it because literally everybody on Twitter is hyping them up? Is it because by the way, I have no shade towards any content creator, but are all content creators covering this right now? Did the Slum Doge millionaire just buy it? Did Andre Jick tweet about it? I look at all of that and say, okay, this could, be a false pump. And to give you an example of like the pros and cons of this, sorry for the long answer. Like I sold an Iron Man and OK Man at 3K last week. I sold a Jim Lee Joker Badman at 2K last week. I sold a what was the other? I saw a common Spider-Man at 1.4K last week. Right now, before the dip today, I don't know what they're at right now. Iron Man got as low as 2.3. Jim Lee Joker got as low as 1.3. And the last Spider-Man got as low as like 900. I actually bought one for 899, then immediately sold it for like 1,000. But I mean, that could be lucky. I made bad mistakes. Like I've made really bad trades. I sold an Elsa not long before the parabolic pump. I feel like I had another one that was pretty rough that kind of haunted me. But at the end of the day, somebody said this that I really respect the other day. It might have been Brock. I don't remember who it was. But you have to be okay with taking profits because you're never going to hit the top every time. And if you're someone who is in this a lot, which I am, dude, I literally, to my fault, like almost every night, keep on refreshing my VV feed and finding flip opportunities, finding buying opportunities, undervalued opportunities, using charts. So Jim, I consider myself a decent trader when I have gems available to me. So I just think of, what is the upside? Can this, which Jim Lee's I actually do like Jim Lee, and I think Jim Lee's an awesome long-term hold. But can I make this 2K gems that I just got from Jim Lee into 4K faster by using it in the market and flipping? Or can I do it faster by holding on to Jim Lee and waiting till he gets to 4K? I use that with so much stuff. What is the upside to this? I mean, golden moments are amazing, but my 3K Iron Man, which I might buy back because it's already dropped to 2.3 and it might drop even lower with this recent announcement. I might buy back Iron Man because it's freaking Iron Man. It's a golden moment. But, could I turn this 3K into 6K faster in other parts of the market, or do I need to wait for Iron Man to get to 6K? I know that's a really long-winded answer, but yeah, that's kind of my thought process.
So, what are the ones that you said that you'll never sell, that you're emotionally attached to? What are those?
Yeah. So because of the Justin said Omi's pumping right now. That's awesome. Because of the master collector points, I'm holding on to pretty much everything that is that would, like, selling it, if it would break my set, I'm not selling it. So because the set, I care about the set bonus points right now. So for instance, like let's do a secret rare Coca-Cola. It's not that I would never sell it, but I have the Coca-Cola set, so like I'm gonna hold on to it. I only have one secret rare Storm, and also I think Storm would be in that branch of the lower tiers being undervalued. FA X-Men, Queen of Wakanda. Storm has a lot of upside in my opinion. But I only have one secret rare, so I won't depart with that one secret rare Storm. The skateboard and Homer and Simpson. This is a funny one. One, I still am a believer that it was the first appearance of Disney. I know that's very debatable. But two, I hit it on drop. And because I hit it on drop, I have an emotional attachment to it. It's a weird thing. It's like I have the pride of it saying you paid 60 gems for this and it's worth 2K. And I have it for the set. Whereas I did buy some golden moments with the intention to flip those. and I did buy other things with the intention to flip. And, again, I'll probably buy back some, during like this week's dip or whatever. But, if I hit it on drop, if it breaks my set, Todd's a good one. I have a physical Todd coming in. Like, I would hate to sell my Todd and then just have a physical and not have the NFT Todd. And Todd, other than my trade that I said I made, which is understandable, I've never sold Todd. I've been holding him since March. I would never sell my Stay Puff Man. He's the first collectible I've ever bought on Veve. Like, he will be in the family for generations. I'm giving my Stay Puff Man to my daughter. So stuff like that.
We got a question from Uncle Drew debating selling Ultra Rare Spider-Man and Superman for a Todd and Rare Spider-Man. Thoughts? What do you think?
Yeah, so I think this is a great topic, and I say again, I say this. You can hear my daughter. Sorry. I say this as somebody who owns a rare Spider-Man, and I don't have any other rarities right now. But like, it doesn't make sense to me, the mint size compared to price, because right now there is, what is there, 2,500 ultra rare Spider-Mans, and there's 9,000 rare Spider-Mans. So there's only like a little bit over 3x the supply of ultra rares than rares. So based on just mint size, we can assume that the ultra rare price should be 3x to 4x the price of the rare, correct? Based on mint size. I know there's other factors. There is there's the animated factor, that comes into it. But ultimately, what are people doing with the Spider-Man? It's the first appearance of Marvel. It's the first appearance of Spider-Man on the blockchain. It's a huge deal. So not everybody can afford the secret rare. So they're going down to the ultra rare. Not everybody. So what's going to happen when the ultra rare, which it pretty much is now, becomes out of reach for the average person? They're going to go down to the rare. And then once the rare comes out of reach, they're going to go down to the uncommon. So going back to that, I don't understand why the ultra rare and the rare has such a big price difference. Last I checked, I don't remember right now, but the rare was like 1.7K, and then the ultra rare was over 10K still. I mean, that's over an 8x difference, not a 3 or 4x difference. So again, I know there's other factors, but you would assume, based on all the assumptions we do with Undervalued, that the rare would be undervalued compared to the rest. But that's my logic on it.
Yeah, I think it might be the animation on the Ultra Rare. Got from Brandon over here. My bad, I had to jump out. What do you think about first edition Goofy Pluto this weekend? Will they double as the FA, or would a 3D collectible down the line retain that FA tag? What are your thoughts on that? Will it be FA?
Yeah, I don't know why it won't be FA, and I know people are saying that, and I think in Vivi's tweet it even said FE, but I'm wondering if they meant like this is the first edition of cards that we're having on the app, but these characters are still going to be first appearances. The only argument I can see why these characters won't be first appearances is because it's on a card. So similar to comics, comics technically doesn't take the FAs, maybe only collectibles take the FAs. But it still doesn't really make sense to me that these characters aren't taking the FAs when this is the first time that we're ever seeing Goofy, Pluto, and all of them on the blockchain or on Veve.
Yeah, I mean, I personally hope that they're not, because I prefer like the statues. Like, it's like with Marvel Mighties, to see Captain America come out, as a Mighty instead of like in his true form. I think that really hurts the FA value. But I guess we're going to find out tomorrow when they release those details.
Yeah, that's very fair.
Why does neither of the Mickeys on the app say FA on them anywhere? It's weird. Isn't there an FA on the partners?
Yeah, the partners took the Mickey FA.
Now, what do you think about, like, I'm assuming that there's going to be like a Fantasia Mickey and other variations of Mickey. Do you think those will cut into like Steamboat Willie's price?
Are you talking about the ones that were already my daughter is literally screaming. Are you talking about the ones that were already released, like the Fantasia hat and the Walt and Mickey?
Now, I mean, like, if we get like the statue or an animated, an actual Fantasia release, like, him in like that purple, which is like an iconic version of Mickey. I think that and Steamboat are the two iconic versions of Mickey. And I'm assuming that's going to come down the line. Do you think, these other iconic versions of Mickey will cut into Steamboat Willie's long-term value?
Yeah, I think Todd's a good example of that. Like a response question is like, do you think the other Batmans that were released affected the price of Todd? I think if anything, it could increase the price of Steamboat Willie because everybody's still going to be wanting that first. I see what you mean. So technically, the Steamboat Willie will be first edition of Steamboat Willie, not Mickey. So that's fair. I guess you could argue that the Steamboat Willie is still like the first edition with Mickey in it. I don't know. That's a hard question. What do you think?
I think that I think Steamboat Willie will do well regardless, but I do think that it will cap the upside, you know, long term. You know what I mean? When you're going to get these other iconic versions of Mickey, and none of them are going to be FA because there's only one FA. So I think that it might. And I landed my ultra rare Steamboat Willie on the drop, and I sold it at like, I think it was like 4,000, and I put that into Todd. And it was super impulsive, but like, my thought was like, and I was like going nuts about it for a couple days, but my thought process was like, it's the first ever, the narrative of the Todd. So that was my thought process. Is
That was a
Ultraman,
great move.
Thanks. I mean, I think so. But is Ultraman overrated?
Yes.
You think so?
Yeah. So I don't know enough about it. John on Twitter Spaces actually taught me what I know, and he sent me some articles. But the Ultraman that we have in the app that everybody's like, oh, the Asian market's going to love it, isn't the same Ultraman that they do love. It's not the same Superman to them as we think it is. So I think we're trying to impose our thoughts on what the Asian market's going to love when ultimately this isn't really the Ultraman that they love. So I think that's kind of ironic. That's my first thought on it. I think that we are overcutting our. First off, I don't like talking bad about anybody's investment. Like I feel kind of weird about that. I'm just giving my thoughts over the Ultraman thing. We're hyping it up right now based on hopefully the Asians are going to come in. The Asian market's going to come in and buy our, take our bags, and give us money when they might not even care about it. Not only will they not possibly care about it, we've seen history as far as really any demographic. I don't want to rely even on my country, much less another country in the NFT or crypto market. Cause like, look what China did. And I know that's different, but look what China did to the crypto market during summer. They said, oh, we're good with crypto. And never mind, we're going to ban it. Like I'm not putting my investment in something I can't even keep up with the politics in. Like, like what if they go back on it? What if like a couple months from now, they're like, you know what? They did something that went against our, whatever. So we're not going to allow you to have NFTs anymore. I hope they don't do that. I definitely hope they don't do that for the Asian market. But like, that's just a lot of faith to put in, that the Asian market's going to come in. They're going to love our collectibles. And not only are they going to love our collectibles, like this is their Superman when this might not be their Superman.
Yeah, you made a great point about the look. I think he looks more like a Power Ranger in their version of it. With typical Western, right? Typical Westerners over here. But I mean, I made a video saying that he was undervalued when he was at $200. I don't know necessarily. You make some great points. It's very speculative. It's a speculative play at this point, right? Because you're speculating on the fact that it's going to pop once Asia gets in. But that's speculative. Walt C. Play devil's advocate as to why Todd can't reach 100K by Christmas 2022. My answer to that would be that the market cools off, and and also the fact that there are, I think 7,500 of them. Is that correct? The number of Todds?
Yeah, there's 7,500 Todds.
So I think that could also, I mean, to have them at 100,000, if like you said earlier, there are people stacking them and using them for liquidity, there might be a lot of sell pressure on the way up to make it that high that soon. Thoughts?
To play devil's advocate at why Todd can't reach 100K by Christmas. Yeah, I think this is a scary thought. That's again, it's such a new field, but I think once MTL comes, I don't think we'll have as much resistance against a financial crisis. So what I mean You gotta love cats, man. You hear them in the background. Um, what I mean by that is we saw the crypto market take a significant hit last week. Red everywhere. Stock market took a significant hit. Vivi didn't really move, but it has really no choice but to not move right now because you're kind of tied up. What are you going to do? Sell the loss and then try to convert your gems to crypto or fiat at a horrible rate, zero point 0.6 or zero point 0.7, and hope you don't get scammed. There's no exit possible. So I'm not saying MTL will crash the market. I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying I don't think it will make us as resistant to a larger financial crisis, like inflation rates go up. Then the stock markets and crypto markets start taking bigger hits, and we start to see those like bear markets. I don't think we'll be as resistant, and that would affect the market as a whole. I still think, long term, after the economy recovers, then yeah, it all go back to normal. But playing complete devil's advocate, I think that could be a play in it.
What do you think of the theory that OMI is bear market proof? You subscribe to that?
Look at the way OMI reacts to Bitcoin right now, and it usually does follow Bitcoin. It's an altcoin, and most altcoins follow Bitcoin. That said, going back to what we said earlier, once the burns really increase, and once this token has more utility, then people might be buying OMI strictly for the utility, not based on trying to do it as trades. And at that point, are people buying land in the Vverse, and are people enjoying the Vverse? Are they spending OMI for games in the Vverse? Do they need those staking tiers to get more things? At that point, if people still have the money to do it, and it's all kind of in the background of things, going even further, if again, speculation, if Disney's using OMI or something like that, or some big companies using OMI, and people are still using it without even knowing they're using it, hence, the way we're using Vivi, and then they do buybacks, and then that burns a percentage, then yeah, to an extent, I would say it's bear proof. But right now, I don't think it is. And most of the time, you can just look at the crypto charts and see that it does move with the rest of the market.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I think that maybe one day it can be, but I think we're far away from that. I think we'd have to have it. It would have to be a full utility token in order for that to happen, and be used inside the VV verse and have maybe gamification and things like that. And then maybe it will be, but I think it'll always have some correlation to the overall market. I think we're going to wrap it up right about now. Any final thoughts on? You said that this week's drop. You said, what do you expect like the prices to be on the cards? Last question.
Man, it's so hard to say without really knowing how the cards are going to look, and without knowing, most importantly, the edition size. Um, God, I don't like if there's a secret rare card and it's like, let's say 2,000 mints. Um, conservatively, I can see it maybe around Steamboat Willie prices, like when they first dropped, like around 2,000 conservatively after drop. And I can see that easily going to 5 or 6K in the next week. With like, let's say again, 1,500, 1,000 edition or 2,000 editions. I don't know how, um, I don't know how strongly them being the first edition of these cards is going to play in. Maybe it's going to play more significance. And if the market as a whole decides that that's extreme significance, that this is the first cards on VV that has that fancy word attached to it that I don't even remember right now, then we could even see higher. I know that I was too conservative with other things in the past. And I think ultimately I'm going to probably buy on drop day, when I miss it. I'll probably buy anything under 2K. But again, it's so weird making, people get mad when you're so off on price predictions, but everything's so new. And I mean, it's just hard.
It's also hard when we don't know like the specifics in terms of numbers and things like that. I wish you luck this weekend, brother. Hope you get a drop. Hope you get a secret rare, first appearance, goofy. All right, man. I hope you get everything. I want to thank you for coming on the stream with me, man. It was great talking to you. Great meeting you. This is the first time I actually spoke to you. If you haven't checked out Chris's channel, go and sub to it. I linked it in my description below. Go order some coffee from him. What's your favorite coffee, Chris?
I've been really big on natural Brazil. It's kind of got like a dark chocolate and like nutty taste to it. And I like it just like a straight black coffee or like a pour over. And then it also pulls really good on espresso.
There you go, man. Order some coffee from the man. He's got a Patreon, right? You got a Patreon. Tell us about that.
Yeah, man. So kind of what I said earlier, I didn't want people to have to like, well, one, I like making content, so I eventually would love to do this more part time. So I didn't want people just like giving me money for content, of course, which if creators do that, that's okay. Like I support whatever you want to do, but I just have the mindset of I got to give something back, and so I was like, well, why not just make a coffee subscription? So that's basically what I do. Is my top tier Patreon is $20 a month, and you get a bag of coffee every month, and it's a different bag of coffee every month. That's the same price you would pay for any coffee subscription, basically, that you find online. So I'm not, I don't feel like I'm robbing people or anything like that. And yeah, so that's what I do. And my website is already up, but I really want to do some tweaking before I really start promoting it because it's still in like the infant stages. But I'm eventually gonna get a website, and if people like my content, it's one of those things. Like again, if people like my content, they feel like I contributed to them, or they helped them, or even if they don't, if they like coffee, it's like, hey, if you want to support me, go buy a bag of coffee. You're not just giving me money; you're getting something good in return.
Yeah, very good, man. Very cool. Go if you like some coffee. He's got the best coffee in Louisiana. That's what I heard. I read the reviews. Get some coffee from my boy Crypto Chris. Sub to his channel. I want to thank everyone for tuning in tonight, and we will see you in the next one. Good luck on the drop this weekend. See you in the next one.